Joe from Portland International Raceway. Thursday's in the books, and it was a spectacular day for everyone here at Portland International Raceway, but it was a little bit of a wet day. It has been rainy, and one of the big concerns is rain is in the forecast. Potentially could increase up to 50% by Sunday. Of course, we'll be monitoring the weather each and every day as we do these reports. All track activity have ended, but it started out very early under wet conditions with Rinus VeeKay and Ryan Hunter-Reay with BitNile.com sponsoring. They were able to give us a lap around the track. First year with BitNile sponsoring it, how exciting is it to have the BitNile colors on the cars with the BitNile Portland Grand Prix?
It's great, right? It's pretty cool.
It's exciting.
It's always special when you're representing the title sponsor of the race when you're on the racetrack. I think the last time for me, that was like DHL in Milwaukee in 2013. So we won that race. So it would be really nice to for one of our cars to have a shot at winning this thing. So it's. I think you guys were pretty good here last year, or good form at least, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, I think we have speed, and it's a fun track. It's short. I think one of our shortest tracks in the schedule. But no, it's close racing. It's good. There's many opportunities to pass, and it's just my first time having my car sponsor be a title sponsor. So.
Yeah, it's very cool. And this is Calamity Corner, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is so wide and inviting, and it's the tightest corner on the racetrack. So.
Last year they moved the restart and the starting way back. Have they made any announcement about if this be the same start as last year? Because last year was pretty clean compared to the past years where it was calamity.
It was odd that it was so clean last year on the start, which is I think it's unusual for this track. If you're a betting man on it, I would say that there's a good chance that there's an incident here. Always tends to be, and you get cars cutting through the short tracking the chicane here to avoid incidents. But there's a lot of opportunities to be made, and you can also ruin your race here pretty quickly.
Yeah.
This is the one corner that's changed since back in the day when we first came here. They've made it a passing opportunity. So this is yet another passing opportunity here. It's really tight, very inviting on the way in, very wide. But the key is the exit shot going on to this long back straightaway. So that's
tough
always
corner. A wide entry is always tough because you want to use all the track, but also it's very easy to overshoot it and everything.
Right.
So it's a very technical corner. I think this is where in qualifying many guys are up in their lap time and then screw it up here because they don't get that exit shot out on the back straight.
Yeah, it's inviting to try and get a lot of speed in, and then if you don't get the exit shot, there's there's a price to pay on the straight here.
Now, before that corner, there's those left turn, right turns. Is that a critical area to have a good rhythm, momentum, so that we could try to set up a pass before that corner entering the backstretch? Yeah,
there's just a lot of lap time. There's a lot of pace in that section that you could feel like you're doing it right, and you go back and look in the data, and you're missing 0.3 of a second. So you're always kind of trying to tweak that and carry as much momentum through that section, coming up to that tight right-hander onto the back straight.
Yeah, it's also very, very long, low duration corners. So it's, you're always waiting on the car. It's quite a different kind of corners than we usually have on an INDYCAR calendar.
We have two of the closest INDYCAR finishes, Mario and Mike Hunter-Reay 1 year, and then that 3 wide finish with Mark Blundell. We knew it's pretty tricky, as you mentioned, this corner setting up. What would be the advantage line? Would it be just to do what you're doing right now, get wide, or hope the other guy goes defensive and make a mistake and blocks you to lose their momentum?
It all depends on the situation. But usually nothing's going to happen going into there. It'll be coming out. So
it is a long straightaway, so you can have a good draft and even get a pass down without overtake, without push to pass. So there's often a thing with the start too that we start early and the leader actually gets passed. So I think getting a run and really getting that draft will be important to get a pass done before the start-finish line.
Rinus VeeKay, thank you so much for that lap around. You were talking about how you feel like you got the pace this weekend. Since nobody got to test compared to the past 2 years, so you feel that helps you all out when it comes to catching up towards the front and potentially getting a podium?
I think it does. We had pretty good pace last year, so and I think this track has always been a struggle for us. But I think last year we kind of got over that and almost got into the fast 6. We got into the fast 12, so that definitely helps. And I just love this track. I've won a championship here before, and I've won races here before in the Road to Indy, so it's just a beautiful place to drive, and just the whole atmosphere around the racetrack just gives more motivation to go fast too.
And with your teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay, who mentioned he's been racing here since there was a split in open wheel racing, has he been somebody to give you some even like inside tips that he may know of the track?
Definitely, he has a lot of experience compared to me on this track, but also just his experience in INDYCAR 2003. I was 3 years old, so that's a long time ago. So he has a lot of experience, and that will help definitely, and it definitely helps the team. With the limited time we have on track, it just helps us progress more and more and get the balance right sooner.
And final question: we know season is wrapping up. When it comes to this race, Laguna Seca, is the focus just go out there, try to get podiums, potential wins, or just try to remain consistent and just build up for next year?
We definitely want to be consistently fast, consistently on the podium and trying to win, of course. But it's been a tough season for us, so I think we shouldn't really think about winning, but just be getting in the top 10 and both races, both those last season finishers. Try to get into the top 10 and stay there.
Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, thank you so much for that lap around Portland International Raceway. You mentioned you've been racing for a long time. Coming into a team mid-season and a track you're very familiar with, do you feel like this is a good opportunity for you all to start getting everything together for potentially the next 2 races and even 2024?
I mean, yeah, the team has had strong form here in the past, so we're hoping, to make some advancements moving forward. And it's just such a tight series, so competitive. So it's a great thing is you have a chance anywhere you go.
And now earlier this year, of course, Indy 500 overall had a pretty good solid run. Is that something where it was just like, okay, I really want to start coming back and looking at 2024 opportunities?
I'll see what I want to do, once the season's over and try and figure that out. But certainly the 500, the Indy 500 again, yes, absolutely.
And last question, we know when it comes to this track, you mentioned there's not been a whole lot of change except that final corner before the backstretch. Overall, we know there's a lot of different ways drivers could take those S's where you could pick up time, lose time. Is that something where when it comes to the setup of the car, you're looking at more, okay, let's just do something to make it faster in that area compared to the straightaways?
It's a matter of just getting pace out of the car, getting the speed out of the car all through that whole rhythm section over there. That's where most of the lap time is. As for the speed on the straightaways, that really is dictated by your exit shots coming out of the corners. Everybody's running maximum downforce here, so we all have very similar capabilities in the straight line.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, we appreciate your time and the lap today. Best of luck to you this weekend.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
A big thank you to both of them for giving us a lap around the track. Greatly appreciated, especially bringing the coverage to you guys. And just a friendly reminder, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon, invest in the Grid Network so we could bring you more track activities, more track coverage throughout 2023. And let's start getting ready for 2024. Now, one driver that is very excited about this race weekend has to be Benjamin Pedersen, of course, from the area originally. But the one unique thing, he doesn't have a whole lot of experience here. Alex Andersen from the Gay Racing Podcast asked him about if he had any advantage coming here. Here's what he had to say.
Because last year you won the Indy Next race in Portland, and in 2021 you finished 4th there. With your past success at Portland, does it feel like you have a good opportunity to have a pretty strong race there, you think?
Yeah, I think we have a very good opportunity. Last year was, I don't think it could have been any successful. We were literally fastest in every session, every practice, qualifying, had the pole and then won. It's funny though, but my only previous experience for Portland, even though I grew up in Seattle, was the previous year in Indy Lights. I hadn't actually been there before. So wow. any claims of previous track knowledge is not true because I had never been there until I went there in Indy Lights. So pretty funny, but yeah, obviously, just very good good vibes when I'm there, being that it's a home race. I grew up only a couple of hours from there in Seattle, and yeah, just really looking forward to coming back to the Pacific Northwest.
Now, with the rain potentially coming, this could really neutralize the field. Since IndyCar has started coming back to Portland International Raceway, we have not had wet weather. We have not had a wet session. It has been all dry. So that could change this weekend, and that could be a very big difference between qualifying up front and then starting up front. If we have wet conditions, once again, we'll be following the weather condition all weekend long right here. Now, some big news that occurred. Linus Lundqvist, press conference today, he will be with Chip Ganassi Racing in 2024. Here was Linus explaining how excited he is to be part of the organization, Chip Ganassi Racing.
It's unbelievable. Still today, I have difficult to put it into words how much this mean. I'm incredibly thankful to Chip and Mike and everybody involved to making this happen. Firstly, it's a dream to even be an IndyCar driver, but to be able to do it with the team like Chip Ganassi Racing, it's unbelievable. So I know that it's a big challenge ahead, but I know that I'm gonna have a great team around me with some great people. So I'm gonna try to learn as much as I can and hopefully provide some good results for us.
2024 is going to be very exciting for Linus. One of the drivers that has to be very excited about 2024 and 2025, Josh Pierson. Of course, we've all seen him do racing in World Endurance Championship, the Le Mans 24 Hours. He is making an effort to get into the NTT IndyCar Series in 2025 with Ed Carpenter Racing and their new driver development program featuring Josh. Here's what Josh had to tell us all about that. Josh Pierson, very excited to talk to you here at Portland International Raceway. About ready. There we see they're working on your Indy Next car. Can you tell us all about it?
Yeah, sure. So I'm very excited to be racing at home, obviously. It's great to be back in Portland. I've been at the race here for the past 4 years, and I've never driven the track before. So, super close to home. It's about 30 minutes away from me. I'm really excited to be here. I've got some friends and family coming out, and I'm just really looking forward to what's going to be my last race in Indy Next for this season. But hopefully I'll be back next year and competing for a championship.
Now, next year, 2024, competing for the championship, then was announced. Ed Carpenter Racing Driver Development, goal you being in there by 2025. And the first time Ed Carpenter Racing is having such a development program. How excited are you for this opportunity with Ed Carpenter Racing?
I'm super excited. I've already been working with them this year. And it's a really friendly group of people. I love Ed and Tim and all the guys over there, and I feel super welcomed at each race when I'm under the tent, and they've already helped me a lot. I've gotten to go through some data and video with them on some of the ovals, and I get to sit on the box for a lot of the races and listen in. So I've already learned quite a lot, and obviously it's a very good team in the paddock. So I'm excited to keep working with them and seeing where the future takes me.
Now, a lot of race fans, they follow you in sports car racing. You got a couple of wins in LMP2. I know this year been running pretty good. I know Sebring didn't go exactly that great, but you got the win in Sebring last year. And we know IndyCar has such a diverse group of drivers, from like Scott McLaughlin Supercar, some up the Indy Next ladder. You're essentially coming from Indy Next, but also that's sports car racing experience, LMP2. How does that feel? Does it help you being more of a well-rounded driver when it comes to the different types of races?
I think there's a lot to learn in endurance racing, particularly that you don't get from the junior Formula side before jumping into IndyCar. The big stuff being you don't do pit stops in this series, and therefore we don't have to do fuel saving. We do a little bit of tire management, but not as much as we do on the sports car side with those long format races. So I think there's just something to be said about getting pit stop experience and these big race experience. Driving with a lot of really big names in sports car racing, like Ollie Jarvis and Tom Blomqvist, who's actually in the IndyCar paddock this weekend. So it's one of those things where I think I've learned a whole lot from a lot of these pros I've worked with, but also I get that racing experience that is more similar to what you're going to get in IndyCar with tire management, fuel management, having to do some fuel saving and some tire saving. Whereas here, you don't really get that a lot. So I think it's just having those experiences is going to be a big help going into hopefully a couple seasons of IndyCar for me in the future.
And the experience you have in endurance racing, of course, 2 top 10 finishes at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You have podiums, wins, including some of the big tracks, Spa, Belgium, Portimao, Portugal. Now you're coming to Portland. It's a shorter track, flatter, but we've seen where the racing is just as intense. when it comes to this track, how have you prepared for it? Is it something with the simulators or just talking with other drivers just trying to pick their brain?
You know, it's a hard one because I haven't found a simulator program that has Portland, and I've never driven here before despite how close it is to my house. So this is actually a tough weekend for me, you know, coming in. But as a driver, we have a lot of weekends like this where it's a new track. You know, you might not necessarily know it very well, but you still need to go out and be just as quick as you can be on, you know, that first lap versus the third lap. So I think I'll be able to jump in and be at a competitive level pretty quickly. But, you know, I definitely have looked over some data and some video, and I'll do more of that today before we hit the track tomorrow.
And last question, home state, Oregon. A lot of times when people think about car racing, they think about, especially NASCAR, the southeast states. If you're in endurance racing, Europe-based, not a whole lot of people from the Pacific Northwest. Portland, Oregon especially, we've known there's been a couple drivers, Chuck Bound, across the river, Greg Biffle. How exciting is it to be at your level where you're racing LMP2 cars, 24 Hours Le Mans, representing essentially the Pacific Northwest?
It's amazing. You know, I love motorsports, and I've got a lot of friends and family from here that love motorsports as well and are constantly watching, and I appreciate their support. You know, I've been dreaming about IndyCar since I was very little, and you know, even the 24 Hours of Le Mans when I was growing up, I always wanted to compete in, and to have gotten the opportunities I've had, and you know, to have made a name for myself in endurance racing to the point where I've got quite a following is something special. And you know, I'm proud to be from the Northwest. I've always thought that the scenery here is absolutely gorgeous, and especially some of these places that are nearby like Bend and Mount Hood are absolutely stunning. So you know, I'm very proud to be from here, and I'm looking forward to seeing some friends and family that come out, and you know, everyone that I know is a pretty big racing fan. So despite what people might think, I think there's a big racing community in the Northwest, and I'm happy to represent.
Josh, best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Now, of course, later tonight, there's going to be some activities over at Kenton Station. Several drivers are going to be there, and then we're going to go over to the Sports Bra to find Jamie Chadwick, try to get a quick word with her. We'll have all that in tomorrow's video as we update from Friday's action right here at Portland International Raceway. Be sure to subscribe to the Grid Network on YouTube. Don't miss any of our coverage. And, of course, a busy weekend with Saturday pre-race show where we'll preview Formula One, MotoGP, and NASCAR. Then Sunday, a special Grid Live pre-race for the Grand Prix of Portland. Then we'll recap all of it on Grid Live Wrap-Up Monday. Joe San Diego from Portland International Raceway.